Hello and welcome to Wuhan Weekly, a podcast about the trials and tribulations of 4 Scottish teachers in China. I am Lewis Thomas Rowe, and with me are Ruth Taylor.
Hi.
And Tony Ingalls.
Hey there.
This week we will be talking about how our travels fared entering China this year compared to last year. Oh, okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty, I think it would maybe be good to talk about who we are. So Tony, you want to go first?
Yeah, so I'm from Glasgow and in Scotland, and I studied law at Glasgow University. After I graduated, I was working 3 separate jobs in bars and shops, and I was doing some writing for a couple of websites and for a magazine, but not really getting anywhere. It came to about August of 2014, and I just felt like I wanted to do something different, and hey, this job came up in China, and here I am.
There you go. What about you, Ruth?
Yeah, same boat really. I also studied law at Glasgow. I have no intention of becoming a lawyer, but I hope now that I've said that and it's recorded for posterity, it doesn't come back to bite me in the ass. I was working for a charity after I graduated. Then the opportunity came up to come out and work in China, and it's probably been the best thing that I've ever done. So.
That's great. I actually didn't get as far as you guys, so I left uni and I went back to Banchory, where I'm from. And I tried to look for a job in oil in Aberdeen, but I am not very well prepared. So that did not happen because all the positions closed like 4 or 5 months, earlier. I was looking around for jobs and this job in China came up on the prospects. I'm guessing that's where you guys found it.
Yeah, the Glasgow Uni vacancy alert.
Yeah, so I saw it on that and I was like, well, the semester starts in like 2 weeks and they're bound to have, everybody, all the positions filled. But I just applied for it on the whim, and then, within 2 weeks I had a job in China, and that was it. Yeah. So pretty good, eh?
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so at the start I said there was 4 of us, and clearly there are 3 voices here, so we're already a man down. Our friend Dean, who we met last year, has had some troubles getting out here, needless to say, right? Maybe he caused his own troubles. I don't know if that's fair to say, but he went home, and you need certain documentation to get out here, medical stuff mostly. And he decided to get it done back home, whereas I got it done when I was out in China last year before I left. So my process was a lot quicker, whereas Dean's was struggling a bit. And you guys had your visa already sorted, right?
Yeah, our residency permit for this year runs out in September, so we could leave China and come back in August without any kind of problems. But we had our medical done in Wuhan as well, but Dean decided that he would rather have it done in the UK, and it's taken him a little bit longer to get back out here.
2 months, maybe? So
Yeah,
that's good. So Dean will make an appearance at some point. We're not sure entirely when, so if you hear another voice, that'll be him. Okay, so should we get fired into what we're going to talk about this week?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I think it would be good if we talk about how our arrival in China last year was, and then we'll compare it to this year. So we'll just go around. So if you guys want to talk about how you arrived in China. So
we came in mid-October, which was about a month and a half later than we expected to come. The documentation didn't come through in time, and without going into the horrible
the nitty-gritty
details, it's probably down to the fact that China just has loads of bureaucracy and things take a really long time. We arrived and met some guy at the airport. He took us to a hotel in the city. We had no idea what was going on. And we should probably say at this point that we applied thinking that we were going directly to a school. I think that would be the same for all of us, right?
Yeah. But when the application on the prospect site made it look like, you were applying for this school, which was called Wuhan International Kindergarten, right?
Yeah.
Whereas it clearly wasn't.
No. And what it turned out to be was an agency that sort of bridges the gap between you going straight to a school, because obviously there's the language barrier and there are things that you just don't know what to do or how to do them when you come to China. And obviously the agency is there to make that easier, but not necessarily, in practice doesn't necessarily work that way.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I feel like the agency did kind of facilitate a lot of the stuff that we needed. like
Right.
applying for visas.
Right.
It was really easy this year because we knew we'd been through it all before and we knew what was happening. And we also understand now that things do just take a little bit longer here to process. There are more questions and a few more hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
But I think last year it was very intimidating. So I guess in a sense, the agency did help a little bit. They also found us an apartment, which was something that was sorely missed this year on our arrival back to Wuhan.
Yeah.
So Ruth, you've already been here. You've already been to China on a school trip, right?
Yeah, so I came to China 6 years ago when I was in my final year of high school
Right.
with like 40 other 16, 17 and 18 year olds.
Absolute
and it was
mob.
it was a very different experience to the experience I've had traveling around this time, but I kind of thought that I would have a vague idea of what to expect, but China has changed so much in the past 6 years. Everything is so much bigger. I mean, I thought we were coming to Wuhan and I'd never heard of it, and I thought Wuhan would be some sort of post-Soviet wasteland, which like it absolutely
wrong you
isn't.
were.
Yeah, it really isn't. There's so much going on here, so I think that was the big thing that shocked me first of all. I mean, you must have thought you were going to.
Well, yeah. So this place, when I arrived, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, you had a rough idea of what was going to happen. I think you must be in the same boat as me.
Yeah.
I thought I would be waking up every morning, doing my kung fu. I would go out of my house and it would be like a rice paddy, and I'd be like, I'll just hop on the bike to the school, which is like 10 miles away. And, the only other building in between would be like one store that sold like, I don't know, bananas. I don't know. Like, I had no idea. Bananas and noodles or something. So like when I arrived, and I'm sure people who are listening know how incredibly prepared I am for everything, I had no idea what was going on. So I got into the airport and this random guy, because you had someone from the agency to pick you up. I just had a random taxi driver.
We had the
do you
same.
have the
Yeah,
same?
he just like took my bag, put it on his shoulder. It weighed like 30 kilograms. It was pretty strong. He like grabbed my bag and was just like, didn't speak any English.
Right,
We
yeah.
don't speak any Chinese. And so we followed him to this car and he took us. And I was like,
Yeah.
Tony, we've been catfished. Like, where are we?
Sold into slavery.
Yeah.
Totally. So I had that. I mean, at least you had each other to look after.
That's true.
So I was driving out of Wuhan airport. It takes me about an hour to get to the agency's office. And it was at night, and I knew, so I'd been to India, so I knew the pollution and all that kind of stuff, but it was very different in Wuhan because it's still getting built. So there's a lot more pollution than I thought anyway. So I arrived and I had never actually met the woman who was the boss of the agency.
Never heard of it.
So she got out and started talking to me like we were old friends, and I was like, I don't know who you are, and you didn't say your name. So I was freaking out. I was like, oh, what's going on? Anyway, they put me into a hotel, and that's when I started really freaking out because I tried my bank cards. I couldn't get any money out. Obviously, I didn't tell the bank I was coming to China. I didn't bring any money because I thought I could just rock up to the exchange and get in Aberdeen and just get money straight away. So I had no money. I didn't know anyone. And yeah, I was like borderline, I'm going to go home. Like,
Didn't you also have a fire alarm in your hotel?
oh, right. Yeah. There was that too. So the first night I FaceTime all my buds and my family, and, they kind of like calmed me down. They're like, my stepdad was like pretty much, Lewis, you're not coming home. Stop being such a baby. So that was great. So I went to sleep, and then I woke up at maybe like 3:00, and I heard heaps of banging on all the doors. And like, when you live in like a student town, you just expect that people coming home from a night out or something like that, right? So I was just like, I'll just leave it. I went back to sleep, and then I woke up like an hour later, and it was really like smoky in my room. There was like smoke coming into my room. So I hear a bang at the door, and I get up and open it, and there's this guy who tells me, you need to leave this apartment now because, it's on fire and everybody else has been evacuated and the fire engines are coming. But obviously it was all in Chinese and I didn't know what was going on. So I had a wee look around in my boxers. I was like tiptoeing around this hotel in my boxers. And I always realized, okay, there's smoke. There's smoke here. So I quickly went back, got changed, and had to go down the fire escape. But have you seen Wreck? The film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Spanish horror film.
Yeah, it's a Spanish horror film, and it's set in this like block of apartments.
Right, yeah.
And when the lights are all off in the film, this looks like the most terrifying hallway like ever. That's the kind of hallway I went down. So I went down, it got smaller and smaller. I went into like the cellar of the hotel, and it just got smaller and smaller. I was freaking out. And then I heard like all this water running. So there was a doorway. I walked through the doorway. There was water running down. And obviously there were 2 fire engines just like spurting water into the top of the hotel. So yeah. And like, I thought like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Because I don't speak Chinese. They don't speak much English. But they were trying to usher me into this like unmarked car. And they were like, come with us. It'll be fine. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I ran upstairs, grabbed my bags, and I luckily knew one other foreign dude there. So I just ran to his apartment and just slept on his floor. Like, so yeah, it was a pretty rocky first night. Like,
I don't think when we arrived last year, I don't think we had anything that drastic happen to us, aside from being put in a jail cell like hotel room with a bathroom that had clear walls,
right?
And no windows.
And no windows, yeah.
Windows. So if you're jet lagged, you wake up, your phone's ringing at 12 o'clock.
Right.
I thought it was maybe like 4 a.m. And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe there's a fire, somebody's trying to get hold of us, and I couldn't sleep. But I didn't know what time it was. My phone was charging somewhere else. It was just a nightmare. So no windows, a see-through bathroom.
Yeah.
A typical Chinese hotel room, really.
It really is.
Yeah.
Hey, and that's not the most romantic thing you want to be seeing, you know, when you just get off was it like a 22-hour flight or something like that?
Yeah, it was on the way here, yeah.
Just to see your better half dropping a deuce.
But I would say this year has been more stressful in terms of arriving.
More? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
even though we know what to expect, because we're coming this time with the school directly, and because we don't know any of the people who work at the school, and what to expect from the school and their staff, this time it's been more stressful.
Right, okay. So tell me about it. What happened?
So we came to Wuhan after having been back in Scotland for a month. We'd been traveling around Beijing, Shanghai, and Xi'an before we went back home, and then we were in Shanghai, Suzhou, Nanjing, and Changsha.
So
when we came back.
pretty good travel, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we're tired because we've come straight off the plane and we've gone sightseeing basically. So and we're very meticulous with our being tourists. And
Has Ruth got like a checklist?
Yeah.
An agenda for each day.
Right. So we're still a little bit jet lagged, and we're expected to come to Wuhan and go straight to our apartment, which they've told us that they have for us already. Right. And we're hoping we can go sleep and, have a shower and go to the toilet. And we get to the apartment. It's a beautiful apartment. It's really nice. It's clean. Well, ostensibly, from the most part, clean.
Right.
And nice wood floors, and the bedroom looks nice, and there's a wardrobe and like a dresser and a couch. And we're walking around this huge flat. Two people were supposed to live in this flat. It's huge. We count the rooms. There's like 7 rooms, but no kitchen. And we're like, where is the kitchen? We don't know where we're going to cook. And the person who's taking us there is just like, okay, this is really good. Bye. And then we go to wash our hands, and there's no running water. And I go to the toilet, and it is one of the most horrific sights I've ever seen. I won't go into the gruesome details of that either, but it was not pleasant at all.
Yeah.
And then the next day they left us to stew there with no water.
Right. So when was the last time you had a shower before that?
Well, what we ended up doing was going to one of our other friends here in Wuhan's apartments to sleep that night because we just couldn't take it. So we showered that night, but then the next time we showered was like Wednesday at 5 p.m.
When we got a hotel.
Right.
So, because the school gave us the apartment, there was no water. There was no kitchen and no water. And so we were not very happy. So we went to look at some more apartments, and then the school put us up in a hotel. But the apartment hunting side of things was also a trial. We went to look at one, and I was just like, we walked in, and I was like, no, we're not living here. There was a bed with no mattress. It was so dirty. This was the better one of the two.
Right, okay.
It was so dirty. The balcony was disgusting. It was just awful. And then we go to see another apartment, and I'm like, okay, maybe this one will be better. And it looked like something out of a horror film. It was so dirty. It looked like, I don't want to say Crackdown on the podcast. It looked terrible. And it was so bad that I cried. The 2 Chinese teachers, 2 girls who we know from school who were showing us around, didn't know what to do. it was the worst thing I've ever seen. And my immediate reaction was, you can't say you can't move in here because it's too dirty, because you don't want to sound ungrateful.
Right.
So my immediate reaction was, there's no Western toilet, so we can't live here. It wasn't that like this place, it wasn't like this place needs to be burned to the ground and then built again because there is no saving it. It was like, there's no Western toilet.
Yeah.
So. No.
But this whole process lasted almost a week.
Right. Okay.
And so this is why I'm saying, in comparison to last year, it was more stressful, because last year, you know, we had our problems. We were unsure of our surroundings and we didn't know anyone, but at least they took us within a couple of days to our apartment, and our apartment was totally fine. I mean, it was a shell of an apartment, but you had it. Yeah, we could be there and we could have a shower. This time we were homeless for a week. Almost a week.
Yeah. I think maybe our naivety is probably the thing that's going to come across most in this podcast.
Right.
Oh, definitely.
Like, I was thinking on the way back, like, oh, I'm so like settled in China and I feel like I know things now. I know nothing. And I've had a rude awakening in the past 2 weeks. But I think it's just one of those things when there's a language barrier, and I think maybe we just want different things in terms of our apartment and the things that we require. Well, I suppose everybody needs a kitchen. Maybe I'm just trying to be polite.
Well, no, I think, in what apartment in the whole world has no kitchen? It doesn't make any sense.
Totally. Fair enough if you're renting it out for, I don't know, a bunch of workers who are building the apartments, like, right there.
Right.
But, like, how are you supposed to sell that later on? Like, where's your kitchen? No, there is no kitchen. What
exactly.
are you talking about? You know what I mean?
And it's not like we're on a very tight budget here. We're foreign teachers in China, and I don't know what the people at home listening know about doing that. Well, that's what this podcast's for, isn't it?
Yeah.
But being a foreign teacher in China is a well-paid job.
Definitely.
And we can afford to live somewhere good and nice.
Totally. Yeah.
We can afford to live somewhere with a kitchen and running water. That's basically the end result of this story.
Yeah.
So it was a trial. And you've had a really fun time looking for apartments too.
Oh, I have been loving it. But actually this year, I was a lot more prepared. So I told my bank what I need to tell them to get money. I was like, I'll just get out in the airport, and that all went down without a hitch. And, you know, I had been in China for a year, so I knew what was going to happen. I knew that things might take a bit longer. I knew that if I wanted to get a certain thing done, I'd need to ask someone. And, you know, it might be like pulling teeth, but it will get done eventually. But yeah, the start of this year for me did not start too well, I don't think. So I got into Wuhan and they'd lost my bags.
Oh yeah.
So
I
that
almost
was
forgot about that.
I know. So I'd been on the plane for 22 hours. I was smelling like a foot. It was disgusting. And so when I flew home last year, at the end of last semester, I flew with China Eastern, and that's who I flew out again with. And they lost my bag. So I was almost thinking they're gonna lose my bag again, aren't they?
But they won't. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine because I asked not one, not two, but 3 different people in 3 different cities, will my bag be at Wuhan when I arrive there? Yes, of course it will be. It says on this little ticket. Yeah. And I was like, great, well, that's me sorted. So I get to the carousel and people are leaving. I'm like, okay, they've lost my bag. Mm-hmm. And then more people leave. I'm like, yeah, they definitely lost my bag. And there's just me and one other girl. And this like assistant comes like running over, waving a bit of paper, like, have you lost your bag? I was like, yeah, I've lost my bag. So that wasn't great. So I had no clothes. And I arrived on the Friday?
Yeah.
I arrived on the Friday and
very
I wasn't very late. So Friday night. And I wasn't seeing my apartment until the Monday. So they'd sorted me out in the dorm at the school. So the school offers rooms, which are fine. But I saw it the first night. I'd been traveling all day. I was raging because my bags were lost. And I just took one look at, like, a very quick look at the dorm, and I was like, I can't be arsed staying here. Luckily, you guys helped me out.
Yeah, we just moved into our apartment, our 1-bedroom apartment, and we had a plank of wood for you to sleep on.
Yeah, so that was fine. And I think in hindsight, it was probably good that I did that because I had no clean clothes anyway. Yeah. So I had to get what clothes I had with me cleaned and then sorted for the next day. So then I was in the exact same boat as you guys. I was trying to find myself an apartment and it did not go well. So the first one we went to was a 3-bedroom flat, even though it's me and Dean that are going to be living together, so we need 2 bedrooms. And yeah, they say 3-bedroom flat. There was 3 rooms that could be used as a bedroom. One of them had a bedroom and a mattress and a bed. One of them was just like a paint board. Like, you know those tables you get for painting.
Well, like wallpapering.
Yeah, wallpapering. Yeah. So that was one of them. That was considered a bed, and the other one had nothing in it. And there was like, it was really strange because it had central heating, and most flats in China just have AC.
Yeah.
But the radiator had been ripped off the wall by some Hulk. So yeah, that was great. And then, I saw a couple other flats, and there was always something wrong with it. So we saw that one where there was just a hole in the wall beside the AC unit. So I was like, even if I turn this on, it's going to do nothing because there's a hole in like to the outside world. There was that flat that we saw that the ceiling was like crumbling around me.
Oh yeah.
So, and then she was like, it's fine. I was like, first of all, it's not fine, but for argument's sake, I'll say it is fine, but I don't want to live in an apartment where it has no ceiling essentially.
Was that not the same apartment where in one of the bedrooms there was the ensuite?
Yeah.
And it had, for one thing, it had glass doors, but it had one glass door missing.
Yeah. One glass door for a double glass door ensuite.
Yeah.
So say you get up in the middle of the night, you do your business, and then you're like, I'll just close the door, but I can't. So now not only is my bathroom going to smell like poo, but my whole bedroom's going to smell like poo.
Stewing in your own gases.
So that is great. And like, I'm a smelly guy anyway, so like, I don't want to gas myself, do I?
This podcast is going to quickly turn into just us talking about poo.
Well, I think it's inevitable. Right? And then there was like a couple of flats that we saw where it was like, we opened the fridge, and it was like, there must be a rotting carcass in here, because that is the only way I can explain this horrendous smell.
Well, that's the thing, even when we were looking at apartments, and the same for you, you go into an apartment back home, and I imagine in most Western countries, and and you expect it to be clean and, well prepared, because people are coming to look at it, they want to persuade you to rent this apartment. Yeah. But here, it seems to be totally opposite. It's like, well, there is an apartment available, and it doesn't matter what state it's in, you're gonna have to take it, basically. And so basically every apartment we went into was filthy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because of who lived there before, or it just fallen into disrepair because people don't live there. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a letting agent to be trying to rent you an apartment that looks terrible.
Totally, yeah. Because obviously I think it's the same in the UK. Maybe not as much, but they all get paid commission,
right?
So the guy that's been helping us. Actually, he was now a really good friend, and he lets me go on his little electric moped every time we see a flat. So I'm always happy. So he gets a cut of whatever the rent is.
He gets like half the first month's rent.
Yeah.
Right. So it should be important for him to make sure that these flats, they look like they're ready to move into right away. But all these flats look like, we need to put a door on the toilet. We need to fix the ceiling. We need mattresses for our bed. It needs maybe just a deep clean, because
disinfected.
Or as the crack then, it just needs blown up.
Yeah.
And start,
It just needs to be rebuilt. My favourite apartment we went to see with you, though, Lewis, was where somebody had let their child go crazy with a biro and some crayons, and they'd scribbled all over every single wall and door in the flat, and then Louise, who we were with, was like, so this apartment's nice, maybe you will take it. And I was like, it looks like something out of a horror film. There's like drawing everywhere. It looks like a cult's been living here.
It reminded me of that film Sinister, where that girl is drawing all those murders on her wall, and I'm like, am I gonna pull my bed back and just see like a picture of 5 people hanging or something like that? It's ridiculous, right?
That was the place with the terrible smelling fridge, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Was that also... No, that wasn't the one with the toilet.
No.
No, okay.
There couldn't be that many things wrong with the apartment. But we should say, though, that, we aren't just being princesses. Like,
no, right.
Like I said before, you can afford to stay somewhere nice.
Yeah.
And it just seems to be that this is the case.
Yeah, and you'll find, like, I mean... I'm going to talk for all of us here, but we love living in China. We love working in China. We love the food. We love the people. We love the experiences. But sometimes it's too much, and you just need to get away to your own little space. And, these apartments are probably the only places we can actually do that.
Yeah.
So when we spend money on an apartment, we want to make sure it's nice. We want to make sure it's somewhere we can spend time, because when we're having a meltdown, albeit at school, out in the street or whatever, we want somewhere safe and, calming to go home to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think that it's like unreasonable to ask for, you know, a mattress and some clean walls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the happy ending side of it is that we have an apartment. It's really nice, and our landlord is very helpful and friendly.
Well, Ruth and I
And
did.
yeah, and this year we have a TV as well.
It's great.
So
A massive plus. We got to watch the Beijing parade to commemorate the end of the Japanese War.
Right. So
The war with Japan on Thursday. I've now forgotten the date, but it was
last Thursday.
Yeah,
was it?
last Thursday of us recording this, and that was so interesting. So that's something that we would have missed out on last year because basically we had nothing in our apartment that made it a home.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And that was also quite good because we had 2 days work and then we had the holiday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we managed to jump into our school, see what it was like, meet our classrooms, meet our students and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that was like a good break as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, super stoked that you managed to find a flat, guys. I am still looking. So I found a really nice one on, when was it? The Saturday, was it?
Yeah, it was a few days ago now.
No, Wednesday.
The Wednesday. It was the Wednesday,
Yeah.
right? And you need to put down a lot of money at the start, you know, for a deposit, 3 months rent, a fee to the landlord and property management fee. So I managed to collect all that like frantically one night.
So much cash.
Yeah, so much cash. I feel like an absolute pimp.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, everything's done in cash here.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't pay with your card. Like you have to give your landlord £1,000 in cash, and he will just take it away.
so we got all that done, and my landlord was away on a business trip till Tuesday. And obviously the agent got hold of the landlord, and the landlord said, "Oh, I don't want foreign people living in my flat." As racist as it sounds, I think it's mostly due to the communication side.
Well, that's his excuse.
Yeah, that's his excuse, yeah. He might think we're all a bunch of party animals and we're going to be punching holes through the wall or whatever.
And certainly, like, from our experience of having a landlord last year that didn't speak any English,
Right.
it was quite difficult to deal with him. Sometimes him and his wife would just come into our apartment and start cleaning, even though it was cleaner than it was when he gave us the apartment. So I guess things like that are difficult to deal with, and maybe it's just as well that you don't have to deal with a guy who was going to be intolerant.
Yeah,
enough.
I think so. I think that a lot of landlords as well don't want to rent to us because we might leave.
This is
So
true,
we'll pay, we'll maybe stay 3 months and then we'll leave, and then he has to find someone else
Yeah.
to fill the apartment again. I got the impression when we were looking for our apartment just a few weeks ago, when we found one, the landlord's wife seemed reluctant to rent it to us, and Olivia and Amy, who helped us find the apartment, they had to reassure her, you know, that we will be here for a
Yeah.
year, that we're going to be working, that we've signed a contract, we can't leave the school. So I think it is kind of that reason as well.
And
it's-
even then, it didn't really convince them or her, because the day after we signed the contract, so we've already signed the contract and we're like legally bound to pay our rent. The landlord phones us and says we have to go down to the local police station and register as residents, which there is absolutely no need for us to do because we have a residency permit already.
Right, okay.
He's just being super careful.
Yeah.
And yeah, there must be these risks that are put alongside us.
I definitely know a couple of stories of where teachers have arrived in China.
Totally.
And they have left within the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's fair enough for these landlords to be careful, but, it's annoying because we're all lumped in together. It's like,
Yeah.
you are foreign, so you have the tendency to leave
Yeah.
without saying anything.
Yeah.
And then I'll need to do this whole process again. So,
Yeah.
it's fair enough. Okay, so I was thinking we could do one other little segment at the end and then wrap it up. I don't know about you guys, but I have got a lot of, big goals for this year. I want to do things a lot differently from how I did it last year. Like last year, for example, I felt that I wasn't really part of the school. So, I was at a brand new school, and they didn't really know how to incorporate foreign teachers into their kind of curriculum. So, I did some classes in grade 5, I did some classes in grade 7, grade 8 and grade 9, but I felt almost I was just, like, I might have saw some of the classes once a week. So I felt like I was just skipping along the top of, what their actual curriculum is, that I was just there, because I was the foreign guy and they got used to how I act and what I do and what I say. But I think this year, this school's a lot better for that because I'm like fully invested in these classes. So you guys see your class every day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've got one class which I see about 3 to 4 times a day. So it's just one class. So this year, I think I will be anyway, but this year I want to be a lot more involved in the school. I want to get to know the teachers. I want to get to know the students. I want to take part in all the extracurricular activities and stuff like that. Have you guys got any big goals for this year?
Yeah, most of my goals don't relate to the school though. Because I think that, it's good to take your job seriously, and I do take my job seriously. I think we all do. And I'm the same. You know, last year we weren't really part of the school. I had 18 classes a week, 18 different classes a week, which I saw once a week. And it was difficult to be part of it, like you said.
Totally.
And this year we have a textbook to follow. We have exams to make. We have homework to mark. So it's very much different. But, I found, last year in my first experience as a foreign teacher that, you know, we work a fair bit, but we have a lot of free time, and making good use of that free time is important. So this year I want to make sure that I have endeavors to take part in when I'm not working. So that's what this podcast is about in a sense. And I have a blog, which I'm sure I'll plug on future episodes of the podcast, that I don't write for very often, but that I fully intend to write a lot in, and things like that. Just, you know, listening to music and reading books and watching movies and learning Chinese, because we've been here, a year now, and my Chinese is extremely bad. Like, I can, you know, tell a taxi driver where to go, I can order my food, and I can say, you know, I don't understand, but apart from that, it's pretty poor. So yeah, my goal this year is to make good use of my free time.
Ruth, what about you?
My current goal at the moment is to learn the names of all of my students who I teach.
How many do you teach?
I have 50 per class. I have 4 classes, so about 100 students. So in the next month, I'm going to learn all of their names. This year, there are no real ridiculous names. I have 1 student called Eagle, 2 students called Princess. There's another little girl called Yo-Yo. But apart from that, everybody seems to be called like Amy or Annie or something relatively familiar.
Right.
So hopefully that will make it a little bit easier.
And we should say that, you know, these names are not Chinese, like,
of course,
transliterations or anything like that into English. They're English names that they choose. They don't have any relation, in the most part, they don't have any relation to their Chinese name.
So, you know, there's normally like 2 ways that they, like, well, obviously they can just pick a name out of the hat or whatever, or someone would give it to them. But a lot of the teachers that I was talking to last year, they were like, oh, my name is... sounds like Ian, so my name is now Ian. Or my name means happy in Chinese, so I will call myself Happy. So like,
I had the same. I taught in Changsha last February as it was like a winter camp, and one of my kids was called Pudding.
Good.
And I was like, Pudding, do you know what a pudding is? Like, you know, it's dessert, right? And he was like, yeah, but my Chinese name is La Pudding.
Oh, okay.
Or something like that.
Yeah,
and I was like, all right, okay, I can totally see where you've got that from. That's not completely ridiculous.
Yeah, fair enough.
Whereas there are kids that are not even kids, like fully grown adults that we have taught that have ridiculous names like Thumbelina. So.
Yeah, last year I taught Optimus Prime and class is over. So there's none of that this year. I got to name some students as well.
Okay,
so
what did you choose?
Really nice, normal names are really easy for them to say, mostly one syllable, like Zach and Jack and Amy and Nancy.
Nancy, that's a good one, isn't it?
Happy, my co-teacher wrote out a list of names for me and one of them was Dick. And I was like, I'm not doing that to anyone. That's too cruel.
There was a kid like right up the back corner of my class and he sort of had his head on the desk and he had this Chinese writing on his name tag. I'm like, dude, do you not have... I didn't say that, so I didn't call him dude, but I like,
yo, dude,
him there. He doesn't have an English name, and my co-teacher was like, yeah, you need to give him one. So I sort of looked at him, and the first male name that came to my head was our very own Lewis, and it turned out that this kid was the most badly behaved kid in the whole class. So
pretty accurate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So my goal is to know all of the names by payday of this month.
Okay. So you've got about 3 weeks, have you?
Yeah, but this is 60 week and I see them every day. So I think we're going to crack on with that. I also really want to improve my Chinese because my Chinese is terrible. One of my lovely friends, my loveliest friend Fiona, I was telling her that my Chinese was bad, and she was like, but Ruth, it's always really hard when you're surrounded by native speakers. I don't think you actually understand that I am lazy, and I'm too terrified to speak to people.
And that most of the native speakers here, foreign teachers here, can't even speak English properly, so.
Yeah. But no, that'll be a challenge, Ruth.
Yeah.
I'll be impressed if you can get them all out in the playground and just rattle off their name like a machine gun. I will give you 100 kwai.
100 kwai, which is like £10.
A tenner.
Yeah.
I'll give you a tenner.
It's not bad, yeah.
So that's like a week of food or something, right?
It really is.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, okay. Challenge accepted.
Right, decent.
Yeah.
Well, but have you got anything else that you...
I want to try get fitter. I think that's a general consensus.
Yeah,
though, right?
yeah, totally.
I mean, the food here is great, but a lot of it is cooked in,
vats of oil.
pretty much oil upon oil. And then you'll get some dishes so we were out last night and we bought some food and it's very much like tapas. That's what I find anyway.
Yeah. Similar, and maybe a bit more generous portions.
Yeah. The portions are a lot more generous, but it's tapas-esque. So you buy heaps of things and you all share it. But even things like that are supposed to be good for you. So we get this thing called Shanghai Thai, I think it is, and it's just green vegetable. I think it's pak choy or something.
Yeah.
It's
cabbage, basically.
Yeah, cabbage, but it is just drizzled in oil. And, if you're really lucky, they'll throw in just bits of animal fat as well. So you'll be munching down some vegetables and you're like, oh, what was that? That wasn't veg. Oh, it was just fat.
Yeah.
But you're not bothered.
And like last night we were out with one of our vegetarian friends and we ordered sliced potatoes.
Right.
And she pulled out a sliced potato and she put it in her mouth. She was like, this is definitely meat. What is going on? So things like that happen a lot.
Yeah.
So join the gym.
Yeah.
Get running.
I play football.
Yeah.
You were wanting to do a lot of smoothies and blended goods, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to buy a blender and attempt to cook. Although last year I tried to cook and emptied half a pot of rice down the sink. We had to get a plumber out who shouted at us. So we'll see how successful that is.
But yeah, on top of that, I just want to, we didn't, well, I'm guessing you guys lived here. But every time I came through to Wuhan, we just got really drunk.
Did you say where it was you actually lived last year?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think I did. It was, I lived, about 30 minutes from Wuhan, in a place called Shening, and it's a lot smaller than Wuhan.
Only 2 million people.
There's only 2 million people in it, but there's not that much to do, and there's not that much to see. So you can go see, they're really famous for hot springs.
They're great.
They've got a little mountain. Did we go up the mountain?
We didn't.
No, it was raining, was it?
Yeah, it rained for
3 days
48
straight,
hours or something when we came through.
So you got the hot springs, you got the mountain, which is quite nice, and then you've got the little park. But once you've done that 2 or 3 times, you're really grasping at straws. Yeah. And whenever I came through to see you guys, we were all so excited. We're like, oh, let's go out to the bar and let's do this and do that.
Go to Helen's.
And go, so most of the time it ended up we were in bars as getting smashed. Yeah. So I want to see a lot more of Wuhan this year. And then hopefully a lot more of China, the little bits that I didn't see. So I want to go see Xi'an. Yeah. I want to go down to the south because apparently that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I loved Hong Kong when we went, so maybe we go back there.
Yeah.
I want to go to Thailand, Japan.
That's the goal, isn't it?
The big goal. That's a big goal for the year. But yeah, travel a lot more. I don't know, I think.
Yeah, no,
right?
I think that's another thing that we have a consensus on. We want to do as much traveling as possible, and we do travel and have traveled a lot, but we have so much free time, and it's easy to get on the train and go away for a weekend, and we have long holidays, so you might as well make use of it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's us. How was that first podcast?
Yeah, it was great. It's just us having a chat, isn't it? So it's great fun.
I mean, we do this anyway, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, we would. I keep sneezing. Sorry if that comes up in the recording.
No, but it's fine. Ruth is silent for some of it, but she's grasping her mouth with both hands, trying not to make any noise.
It's getting it's like getting the freshers cold, freshers flu even back home. You get it from the kids in the first week of school.
Yeah, I think this week we're going to do. We're going to do a lesson this week on covering your mouth when you cough.
Oh, that'd be a great one.
Yeah.
There was a wee lad in the front of my class, Alan. He was coughing up a fit. I almost saw one, honestly. But yeah, did he cover his mouth? Nah, doesn't matter. Okay, right. So people can get hold of us, right? So where can they find us, Tony?
They can find us on Twitter at Wuhan Weekly Pod.
You can also find us on Facebook. If you search for Wuhan Weekly Pod on Facebook, it should come up. You can like our page and you can maybe post a question for us to answer next week.
Great. And also you can email us at wuhanweeklypod@gmail.com. So as we said, questions, we would be happy to answer them. Suggestions for topic ideas. If you guys want to hear about something in particular, we would also like to hear that too. So I think that's us. So I will say goodbye. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.